Hey, this is Sabrina Monarch of Monarch Astrology and Magic of the Spheres podcast, bringing you an astrology forecast on the full moon in Capricorn that's happening July 21st, 2024. So it is a full moon in Capricorn. It is our second full moon in Capricorn of this Cancer season. It's a little bit more rare to have two full moons in the same sign back to back, but it can happen. The first one was on June 22nd. And it was at 1 degree of Capricorn. So there is a emotional gravity and emotional heaviness. There's something that we're maybe being ready to purge or let go of that feels really historic. There's something pulling us into a new and maybe mysterious future. And maybe there's some things that we're trying to carry up the mountain that are just too heavy to keep carrying. And this sounds like it may be sad, but it also may be liberating. We're on the tail end of this Mars-Uranus conjunction that we just had in Taurus, which was about liberation of deep-seated issues. So maybe there's some fresh energy. There's some changes afoot in terms of how we want to be really leading our lives and creating impact and legacy. That's the high view, but the low view, perhaps from before that alchemy, could be swirling feelings of regret, of feeling like a sense of futility or fatigue, being tired, right? So we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. Another thing I want to presence is that the moon is going to be conjunct Pluto and 0 degrees of Aquarius. The moon will be at 29 degrees, the last degree of Capricorn, this full moon. And then the sun and moon are each going to harmoniously aspect Neptune in 29 degrees of Pisces. The connection to the outer planets here, both Pluto representing deep transformation and Neptune, which can represent disillusionment and spiritual, like that kind of things washing away, going into deeper levels of truth, right? There's something with this new moon about a profound theme of letting go. This connects us with a deeper acceptance of what reality is versus what we try to force it to be. And this can be reality in the external way, the external social reality that we share with others, and then also our internal nature, like just contending with exactly who we are, not who we're trying to be or trying to make ourselves be. Right? What truly is internally versus our various personality mechanisms that filter our essence. The Moon-Pluto dynamic that we're building to with this full moon speaks to bigger emotional transformations and even ego deaths happening at this time. It echoes an already profoundly catalyzing sky with the Mars-Uranus conjunction that we just had in Taurus. So I'm going to get into these themes in more depth, but I just want to share again that I am running a Kickstarter to fund a year ahead of these free forecasts and of Magic of the Spheres podcast episodes where I get on with solo episodes and also interview luminaries in the field. Right now, we have 35 backers, 23 days to go, and we've raised $7,598 out of a $24K minimum goal. That's what we need for this to be funded. I've done these Kickstarters before, and I'm trying to exceed the last campaigns, having 157 backers if we can expand past that this time. So we only have 23 days left to go, and I suspect some people are waiting, for the last minute or something like that. And I really want to encourage you, like if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if you love Magic of the Spheres podcast, if you love these forecasts, to personally take it upon yourself to energize and back a year ahead. I am asking for your generosity, your wild generosity if you have it, as well as, anything counts. If you only have some or a little to give. But it's not just generosity, it's also that you are pledging for various rewards, talks, visualizations. I have a forecast for the year ahead, a talk about Uranus and other archetypes of awakening. I have a set of various astrology readings, one-to-one readings with me. I also have a new course on glamour magic. So that is about enchanting your physical essence with that appealing and magnetic quality, right? And undoing Whatever in your web internally is entangling you to low self-esteem or cultural beauty standards, like to really clarify your field and claim your glamour. I'll talk more about this at the end too. And I encourage you to visit the site about it because I'm talking about glamour magic in a way that I really almost never see people talk about it. And then also a steep discount to the upcoming Evolutionary Astrology Intensive. This is an amazing, beloved program to learn evolutionary astrology and speak this language for yourself. This is a form of astrology that especially resources Pluto and the lunar nodes to get a depth portrait of who you are as a soul, why you incarnated, what you're working through in this life, what kinds of themes you've brought in from past lives. What is it that is the assignment in this life? Very deep material. This is something that I've been working with and growing up alongside since I was 21 years old. It has guided me through my development in so many ways. It's been a constant companion of wisdom and courage, really. Like there is a way of knowing how to relate to yourself as a soul and to understand how your life experiences are the perfect evolutionary journey for what you're here to work on, right? And we do have to participate with our soul journey. So learning about the soul, building better contact with your soul, and learning this archetypal language, becoming more fluent in astrology, I really support my students in building their own connection to the archetypes so that you have a felt sense of everything, that you're not just book learning or memorizing, but that you actually have your own intuitive well of wisdom to draw from. And go check out the course page for this also. It is linked in the notes to read student testimonials and see just how impactful this class has been. And then you can also bundle the Glamour Magic course and the Evolutionary Astrology Intensive. So again, don't leave this up for other people who are also watching this channel. If you love this content, if it means something in your life, please support it. Please make it more sustainable. This goes toward receiving some salary, if you will, for the free work that I produce that's not behind a pay gate, but that is still high quality. And it also goes to pay my significant internet rent that I pay every month just to make it possible to have a mailing list and host courses on my platforms and everything else I do here on the internet that isn't free for me, even though I'm sharing free content. So I really, really would appreciate your support. I'm so grateful for the backers who have already come through and your generosity. Again, don't wait till the last minute. You're welcome to, at the last minute, I'm going to be calling and rallying you forth. But please send some momentum right now. I think here we're kind of at this midpoint of the 40-day Kickstarter, and I would love to see a surge in backers today, tomorrow, in response to this forecast. And if you have any questions about my courses and studying directly with me, feel free to send me an email, sabrina@monarchastrology.com, if you want support around what you're picking to pledge for. So let's get back into the full moon. These are a few themes of the lunation that I want you to consider. One is that deeper, penetrating, more futuristic insight, so Pluto and Aquarius coded here, meets the culmination of something ancient and historic, Moon in Capricorn. So what are you holding in your tissues, your bones? Like, what is that deep emotional content that is being electrified and met by something more new in terms of a radical insight that is shaking up and disrupting something old? So in some sense, we're going to be forward-looking with Pluto in Aquarius connected to the moon here. We perhaps are thinking of the kind of future we want or the kinds of things we want to change. The saying that history repeats itself points to the way that cycles have a way of reoccurring. And the past has this momentum, right? We repeat the past unless we change it. So when we want to really change, we have to transform the way that we have been showing up in the past. We have to become lucid about the past to not carry it over. So very simply put, Pluto in Aquarius is giving us this power of sight, of increased distance, which breeds a little bit more objectivity, right? It's hard to be fully objective because we're still persons with personalities, but the more distance that we can get from the things that we've been previously like embedded in, just up in, not with as much space. So during this transit, perhaps the time has really ripened for us to understand a dynamic that has been years in the making. We reach a greater sense of spiritual clarity on the matter. The deeper and more penetrating insight that we're encountering is allowing us to have that distance, as I said, to see these things that we just were up too close before to see. Another thing is that watch for some moodiness, some bad moods, and healing technologies that can go alongside with them. So bad moods or mysterious drops in feeling are a Moon-Pluto phenomenon. And the magic with it is that it often is followed by a kind of reversal. Like it's that feeling of like maybe, a dramatic version of it would be you feel the depth of like, I'm tired of being single. I'm ready. You feel that longing and that depth of emotion of that hunger for the beloved, right? And then you go out that night, or the next day or something like that, and meet the person who then becomes a life partner. And why it is that we have those moments where we have this dip in feeling, where we feel the depth of longing or absence, and then immediately something comes in and fills it. This is one of the Moon-Pluto mysteries. Jeffrey Wolf Green described this phenomenon for Moon-Pluto individuals. So if you have that natally, as going through these seed moments, that there's this deep and strange emptiness before something monumental happens. I'm a Moon-Pluto person. This is a phenomenon that I experience a lot in my life. And the funny thing about it is that those dips always feel so real, but then you see that something kind of happens afterwards that triggered that feeling. Almost like a time isn't linear kind of thing. But in terms of the Moon in Capricorn bad mood that may be upon us, it could be something about failure, regret about past choices, a sense of lost time, a grief about how we've been spending our time, a general weariness that things are hard and that you feel unsupported, a gravity around fatigue, futility, or giving up. I'm tired. A worry that one will not amount to, or that you won't amount to your full potential or be successful. And on in that kind of vein. Of course, hidden in these very anxieties and grievances is an actual desire to claim a deeper level of authority and impact in your life. Can you see it? If you're wondering if you've been wasting your time or you're worried that you're not going to amount to something, you can see hidden inside of that, there's this desire for the opposite. So engaging this mood, one, we don't have to immediately scramble to come up with a 5-year plan or problem solve or fix or make sure that we get it. Engaging the mood doesn't have to also be about simply feeling better, but actually being resourced to feel and move the energy. So rather than numbing or avoiding the feelings that are coming up, these may be places to be more curious, self-present, and engaged. And like maybe the depth of the longing, the kind of anguish that comes up is a gateway rather than something to not feel. And the Pluto in Aquarius right next to it feels like a breakthrough moment, like a powerful breakthrough. And this could be, practically speaking, it might be the ways that we resource a consciousness technology. Something like energy work, Akashic records, breath work, sound healing, somatic practices, etc. These technologies, right? Aquarius is about technology, and that's not just about electricity or medical technology or something like that. It's also things that have to do with consciousness and with engaging the emotional body in a more sophisticated way. I would just add as a caveat that sometimes people do get addicted or something to these kind of practices and use them in a more sophisticated way to avoid deeper emotional depths. If you just like really keep yourself high or like lifted through doing these practices all the time and you don't touch something deeper. But this is a matter of how we use tools, and they can be supportive for going into our material also it can be a matter of intention and willingness. Both Capricorn and Aquarius have ties to a deep history or a deep context. And while there's a general heaviness to that, there's also resource inside of it, like ancestral wisdom or resource. Capricorn will connect us with deep, like ancient tree root kind of energy, deeper truths in reality and in the natural world, and in the world of cause and effect that are really beyond the human constructions of reality alone. And then Aquarius additionally is connected to beyond and breakthrough information and tech. So the deeper context being that it goes farther out into space and into the world of possibility. The deep context that we find as a resource now amidst this transit could be actual ancestral practices, or there might be a strong activation of the memory stream of your life, different wisdom teachings that you've picked up in your life, like your past experiences are your ancestors also. Additionally, hear me out, but there's kind of like a death energy here, not just the Moon-Pluto contact, but also all the 29 degrees, the final degree placement, the final degree of the signs, right? With the moon in 29 degrees Capricorn, the sun in 29 degrees Cancer, and Neptune in 29 degrees Pisces. This has like a life flashing before your eyes kind of energy. One cycle is ending, another is about to begin. So at this crossroads, some of our personal issues feel more climactic, more loaded. I think this would also promote a strong sense of memory or visionary recall of helpful information, because right now we are deeply reviewing the past and filtering what the gems are, like what needs to go in the history books, what needs to be passed to the next generation, what experiences need to carry over into the future, versus what's ready to be released and let go of, contracts ended, things released before the new cycle. Another thing that I want to bring up is a shift that's happening in the inner voice. There could be a dynamic within this full moon of reckoning with the internalized voices that we have inside of our heads. On the one hand, we may have a wise or beloved person whose consciousness feels available to us in moments of crisis or need. And we feel them as a resource, even if they're no longer with us, such as if they have passed on or the relationship ended for some other reason. On the other hand, we may have a person we have internalized as an inner voice that judges what we do. We imagine how they would respond to our actions in the world or social media posts, etc. So we have this internal surveillance system with them appointed as a judge. And we're still allowing this even to alter how we show up, the actions we take in life. We still perform to this filter. We still care. For some people, this could be the voice of a parent. For others, maybe a teacher or an ex, whoever it is. And in case of the internalized judge voice, there is an internal power struggle happening here, of authority. It's not a power struggle that can simply be killed or suppressed with willpower alone. It becomes a deeper invitation to take responsibility, to have a transformation in this regard for our own power and authority, and to really examine why and where we've given our power away and what the projections we have placed on the other person, right? And how we can grow into reclaiming those projections. Sometimes mentally we can let go of a projection, and other times there's something more developmental that's happening, such as if we see another person as wiser or stronger or more capable, and we've yet to fill ourselves up in a way that we feel like an equal or something like that, right? If you privilege another person's perspective in a disempowering way over your own, how do you need to nurture yourself and fill yourself up so that you're not doing that anymore? It's often very difficult for people to take responsibility for their own power here without a more kind of violent energy of making the other person or situation bad. What would it look like to move responsibly into the future, honoring the humanity of everyone involved, that you can be done that you could be done subjecting yourself to these projections or this internal hierarchy or this thing without making the other person bad. There can be a strong tendency in the field to shut the door on the past, as though the past affiliations, relationships, etc., were wrong and bad. Be mindful of this. The paradox is that these relationships probably did have a ton of value exchange, literally and karmically. And that the empowerment coming through to cut ties with the past has actually been nourished and resourced by that very connection and experience. It's okay for things to end, but there can be space here for a lot of humility and gratitude and awareness. And again, we have Neptune in 29 degrees Pisces as well. So there can be these oceanic realizations at times of compassion, forgiveness, etc. But don't bypass to rush to get there either. Sometimes something grittier needs to be felt first. The transit looks to me like a catalyzing peak moment of individuation, a shift from past and future, and more deeply, a shift in the internal government, like the guard, the judge, the protectors are changing. So certain external voices, like key advisors that are just, voices in your head, I suppose, maybe shifting or falling away and changing also. Lastly, I want to talk about authority and freedom. The hidden desire in the bad mood that I referred to earlier is about claiming a deeper level of authority and impact. Capricorn and Aquarius are both traditionally ruled by Saturn, with Aquarius having the modern rulership of Uranus. And so both deal with the order of systems. There are already systems in place in this reality that we can choose to be a part of, and to an extent, we choose many of them. Like a lot of us choose to live on the grid as opposed to off-grid because we are not willing to take the responsibility to construct an off-grid life. So we inherit templates in reality. And if we want to write our own template, we have to take responsibility for it. There are templates in reality that many of us choose not to take on wholesale, and we have to make our own. Any place where more unconventional or individuated from the culture would be these kinds of places. Another example could be entrepreneurship or being your own boss, therefore defining your own company structure, defining how you do business, defining the hours you work, right? Not everyone's cup of tea either. Another example is not following the footsteps of certain familial ancestral patterns and choosing to be a different way. At a nervous system level, it could be obtaining more capacity to act with increasing free will, as opposed to just falling into the neural grooves of familiar addictions and patterns. With all of these metaphors, I hope it comes across that choosing one's own way can take structural work and intention. There may not be a path already defined. Yet another part of this too, though, is that Capricorn is a lot about the climbing the mountain process. So sometimes if you're on that mountain path, you'll see someone farther ahead of you and you might want them to mentor or guide you. So Capricorn can also be about enlisting, the correct help to get you to the place that you want to go. So you don't have to invent every single template yourself. You might consult with people who have already invented the wheel that you wish to be working with. I wanted to say, though, that rather than focusing so much on the end result of the type of big success or impact that we fantasize about having, though that might be a trigger to begin to feel and think about these things differently, I wonder if it might be a matter of inner governance, like considering the law of our world, that our bigger dreams are not just things that magically happen without our effort, but that, we climb towards these mountain peaks. We build these mountains. These are things we establish systems, habits, values around. Does our daily life and systems, etc., reflect our dreams and desires? And is there something in our life that is a glaring clash to that, like an addiction, a self-deception, a drain of energy or time that is ready to be released with the full moon? that thing I was saying at the beginning of maybe our baggage is getting heavy and it's getting harder to climb the mountain, and there is some baggage that we need to let go of. Some of us may also have less clarity about what we are creating next. We don't have to slap on the big mission statement or 5-year plan if you don't even know what that is. If there's more emphasis, it's okay if there's more emphasis at this time of just letting something go and making space. It's okay for there to be some mystery without trying to kill the mystery with a strong mission statement, sense of purpose, and big plan. Maybe we just need some space to dream. In that case, some space to de-armor ourselves from the holding patterns of the past. So this is what I have for you about the full moon in Capricorn. I think it's significant that we had 2 full moons in Capricorn this Cancer season. It's like an added push to look at things in a more sober way, right? Come down to earth in some way. Grow up maybe a younger part of ourselves that's in fantasy, to face the grief that happens when we let go of something lofty or idealistic that isn't true. And this is not a full-blown pendulum thing to just be pessimistic or to think things that are futile or to give up, which is in itself a more deflated fantasy and also not real. It's what is the grounded I don't want to use the word fantasy, but what's the grounded dream? The dream that we can actually build a bridge to. And how dreams are very sweet, but there's also a process with Capricorn where it's anti-precious. It's where we can really cut our losses. It's where we can see that something about what we're doing is like off or needs refinement. So it's a part of us that can handle looking at these things and creating constructive changes without clinging unnecessarily to things that are ineffective or not true. And so there is a maturation process that's happening with that, whether that's developmental maturation or spiritual maturation. So let me know in the comments how this resonated with you. I forgot to say at the beginning also to please like this video and subscribe. And do back the Kickstarter. Your support means so much. Anything that you have to give, and if you have a lot to give, please be generous. The Kickstarter has many inspired alive rewards. I really sat down with what do I feel like sharing at this time. And so I'm excited about all the talks that I'm sharing. I'm excited to work with you individually. If you're called to the astrology readings, you can bundle things together if you don't want to pick. And then a few words about the Glamour Magic course. So my intention behind the Glamour Magic course is that what would it feel like to love how you look, to feel a bright sense of magic and self-esteem about not just how you look, but your impact when you enter a room. Some of us, have really been led to believe that this is about how you concretely look, the things you wear, how you've learned to fix yourself up. But there's also an energy, right? There's an internal magnetism of aligning yourself and how you hold yourself and how you glam yourself up and I just want to say that, of course, it's women that tend to be who receive the invite for the Glamour Magic course, but it's not just for women. I welcome anyone to come into this course. It's an energy. It's an energy about how you feel about yourself and how you have disentangled your internal narrative from low self-esteem, from internalized, speaking of internalized judges, the internalized beauty standards in the culture that are, trending facial features that are racially informed, that, there's this changing tide in any culture and day of what's considered beautiful or what's considered attractive. And it can, at subtle or large levels, damage our self-concept to see ourselves in comparison with those standards and to not nurture and individuate who we actually are. What about us is more unique, and infuse that part of us with radiance. And why does it matter to feel beautiful? Some of us have also been led to believe that this is frivolous. But chances are, if you have any part of you, even a very deeply repressed part of you that wants to feel attractive and magnetic and feel like other people see and mirror that back to you so that you can be in that kind of Venusian joy in exchange, why not? Why not have that kind of radiance of yourself as a psychosexual being in the world who feels attractive and is responded to as that? And so a lot of people, or like a lot of things that you'll find out there about this question are about specifically what to do with your body, your hair, your skin, etc. I'm addressing the energy and the magic level of it, because whatever you do practically, whatever you do to present and groom and adorn yourself, you want your energy, your deeper intention, why I'm calling this a Pluto-inspired glamour magic course, to match that which you're expressing through you. It can also get to a point where this is a very integrated and joyful part of your life, and it's not something that you dwell on unnecessarily. I say this as someone who spent a lot of time disentangling some of these poisons and shed many tears around not feeling attractive and feeling that deep longing of, I've got Venus rising, I've got Moon in Taurus, this is fucking important to me kind of thing. And getting to a place where it's just something simple, just something fun. So glamour magic from the perspective of, yes, like the sparkly and the fun part on top, but also the deep why behind it. Why do you want to feel this way? And what deeply have you internalized or taken in as poisons from the culture, poisons inside of your self-talk and self-image? And how can you more at a depth root level alchemize those things and free up that life force for your radiance, for your creativity, and just be free in places that you were stuck inside of that kind of pain? So that's why glamour magic is something that I'm teaching. I just taught it to a test cohort of students because it was my first time teaching glamour magic. Part of what I do with the Kickstarter is that every time I've done it, I teach something new, teach something emergent. And there's something about that where there's something really alive and fun in it. And glamour magic has been circling around me for the last few months as like, it's time. This is something I've worked with for years. It's time to teach it. The students who took it really loved it. I'll actually read you something that one of the students wrote me. Let me grab it real quick. She says, I wanted to express again how grateful I am for this work. The way in which it touches every aspect of my life has been really illuminating and empowering. I'm struck by how deep beauty is when I had been lost in the programming that it's shallow and frivolous. And I can feel how this opening for me, I feel how this is opening me into a deeper level of reverence with life. It was also such a tremendous gift to experience you as a teacher. You have such depth and intention, and the way you communicate your teachings feels like it moves gears in my mind and in my energetic field and slots things into place. A former teacher of mine used to say, you can never repay a teacher in 1,000 lifetimes, and truly I feel that here with you. I'm so grateful for your being and for the gift of your medicine. If you feel a connection to my work in general, the transmissions I share, there's likely something for you inside of the Kickstarter. It's a real joy of mine in my work to share my readings, my courses, my course communities with the people that felt the transmissions in these forecasts, that you feel something and you want to go deeper in terms of understanding yourself, understanding the system of astrology to better understand yourself and others. I would love to work with you more intimately. Come through the Kickstarter, support a year ahead of content, and I'd love to work with you. So thank you so much for watching.